Okay, hi, we're back in here for another Wise Wednesday. The topic this month, we're going to look at different types of training and just run you guys through the basics of training. We're not going to go into too much detail, just what are the basic sort of parameters, what are the basic concepts behind different types of training. We're going to start this week with athletic performance training, which is one of the things that we do at Primal. So, how do we train for athletic performance? First thing is, what is the athletic performance that we're trying to achieve? So you've got to be able to identify what sport is it that you're trying to do. So for example, the athletic performance program for a footballer might be very different from the athletic performance program for a boxer. So first of all, you need to jot down what is the sport that you want to get better at, what is that athletic performance you're trying to achieve, and then you just need to think of a few different kind of variables of that sport. So let's take the two examples. If you're going to have athletic performance improving for football, number one, what does the conditioning need to be like for football? So we know that we're going to play for 90 minutes, so we need to have at least 90 minutes stamina. If we're going to do conditioning athletic performance for boxing, the most we're going to do is 45 minutes, so we need to have 45 minutes of sort of base endurance. Next thing, what do we need to have in terms of stamina? How much sort of short burst stamina do we need? For football, okay, it's much more of a sort of, it is start and stop, but it's probably not quite as stamina heavy as boxing. So for boxing, we need to be able to go pretty much flat out for 3 minutes. That's not the same for football. We don't need to go flat out for 3 minutes. Then consider what are the strength elements of boxing. Do we need to be really strong? Probably not. Do we need to be very powerful, fast and quick? Yes, definitely. Football, take the other example. Do we need to be quick and agile? We certainly do if we're a striker. If we're a defender, we probably don't need quite so much quickness and agility. It's more upper body strength and sort of pushing people off the ball, etc. Next thing. Do we need a lot of short burst speed? Do we only be able to get from point A to point B very, very quickly? For boxing, no, not at all. For football, again, yes, for a defender, we need to be able to move at least as quickly as the attacker. For the attacker, we need to be able to move very quickly, and also we need to be able to move in different directions. If you're an attacker in football and you move in one straight line forwards and backwards all the time, you're going to be very easy to defend. If you're a defender, it's probably a little bit more appropriate moving forwards and backwards in a straight line. For a boxer, we don't really need flat out speed at all. Do we need to be able to get from point A to a diagonal point B really, really quickly? Not really. It's all just footwork. So sit down, think about the different elements. Base conditioning level. What base endurance do I need? Stamina. How much stamina? And in stamina I mean how much sort of short burst but flat out endurance do I need? Like imagine 3 minutes of just non-stop punching. Then under that, how much strength do I need? Just pure strength. For a boxer, does a boxer need to be able to deadlift 250 kilos? No. Does a footballer need to be able to deadlift 250 kilos? No. Would it help a boxer or a footballer if they could lift a reasonable amount of weight up and down off the floor fairly quickly? Yes, it probably would. There's a power element to that. Power. How much power does a boxer need? Quite a lot. How much power does a footballer need? Not too much. Jot these things down. Give yourself a score maybe on each element out of 10. And that will give you a good guide as to where your priorities lie for that training. Next thing you want to do is look at function. What function does a boxer need? He needs good shoulders, needs good balance, needs good core. How much shoulder strength, balance, core function would a footballer need? Probably not as much. So look at the movements that each individual sport does and then start working on those movements. A great example, it's an obvious one, but a great example. If you're a javelin thrower, then you're going to need a lot of rotation through your shoulders. You're going to have a lot of rotation through the body because it's all about rotation. If you're a boxer, you're going to need great balance, great core stability to hold you steady as you throw punches and get punched. If you're a footballer, you're going to have to be able to make diagonal movements, diagonal lunges, little quick changes. So break down the kind of movements that you do in your sport and then start working on strengthening those movements. Again, if the movement is repeated over and over and over again a lot of times, then you need to build endurance into that movement. So high repetitions, long duration. If the movement is performed pretty much just once, like the javelin, run up, boom, one time, maybe 3 or 4 throws per meet, then you don't need to be building endurance into that. You just need to build in almost perfect timing, power, synchronicity between the muscles. So consider your base conditioning, consider your stamina, consider your strength and power requirements, consider the movements that you do in your sport, put them all together, and then you can build a plan around that reflects the amount of time you need to put into conditioning, the amount of time you need to put into stamina training, the amount of time you need to put into strength or power. Very few sports need hypertrophy unless you're going to stand on a stage in a little pair of underpants flexing your muscles. You don't really need any sport specific for that. And then look at your movements. What movements do I need to be very good at? What do I need to strengthen? And then compare all of that to what you're weak at. Okay, look at your main weaknesses. If you're a javelin thrower and you've got very weak shoulders, boom, there's your answer. You need to get stronger shoulders. If you're a boxer and you've got very poor balance, that's what you need to be working on. You've got to get your balance sorted out. So really the key there with athletic performance is reflect, your training should reflect the requirements of your sport. Lay down your base conditioning, understand how much stamina you need, perfect your movements, and understand your weak points. Okay, we'll go over in the following weeks, we'll go over how you can take each of those different ideas, endurance, stamina, hypertrophy, strength, power, and what you would do in each of those training systems in order to get the best results. Okay, that's it for this Wednesday. I'll see you next week, and we'll go over another modality.